Hello, my educator family. Let me welcome you to Navigating November. We are navigating the month of November because we are well aware that the appraisal process begins in September of every school year. And so you look forward to the process come the end of the school year. Sometimes in the middle of the school year, you are being required to submit documentations to suggest that you have been doing what is expected of you. And so, my educator family, I thought it was best that I scheduled the month of November to be one that we will navigate together, as we will have expert educators sharing with us on how it is that we go about preparing our professional portfolios to demonstrate excellence, to demonstrate evidence of what we have been doing in the classroom using the 6 guiding principles. And so for our first feature in the month of November, we have with us Miss AnnEvans, who will be taking us through guiding principle 1. The teacher knows the subject he or she teaches. Get your notepad and get ready for Miss AnnEvans as she presents to us.
Hello everyone, and thank you so much for joining us back. Today we are actually starting a very important topic. We're going to get to know our appraisal document, starting with this episode looking at guiding principle 1. Now I have my laptop here with me. I hope you have your notepads. I hope you have your pen, your pencils, because we're going to get into guiding principle 1. Are you ready? Wonderful. So let's take a look at what guiding principle 1 is. Here we can see the different guiding principles 1 through 6. And when we're looking at the guiding principles, we're referring to the appraisal documents that are used to appraise teachers at the end of a school year. So what we're looking at for guiding principle 1 is teacher knows the subject that he or she teaches. Did you get that? Teacher knows the subject that he or she teaches. We could even go further and say that teacher knows the subject content that he or she teaches. So, guiding principle 1. What are some of the things under this professional standard is it that we're going to be marked on? What are our appraisers looking for when we're talking about how much of the content we as educators know? Right? And we're talking about the subjects that we're responsible for in our classrooms. So here you can see that in a nutshell, what we're looking for is action plans, lesson plans, using technology and sources of information, evaluations, samples of student works, resources developed and used by you, or evidence of your awareness of the national goals for education as set out by the Ministry of Education, and that's just to name a few. Now, before I actually get into the meat of the matter in terms of the evidences that they'd be looking for whenever we're looking at guiding principle 1, I'm going to go ahead and show you the appraisal document looking at guiding principle 1. We're going to delve into exactly what the appraisers are looking for on the appraisal documents. Now, in the education system, the appraisal documents are split between 1, the beginning teacher's appraisal document, and the regular teacher performance appraisal documents. So for beginning teachers, what you'd see on your appraisal document is that it's still guiding principle 1, teacher knows the subject that he or she teaches. Here you're looking for clear demonstration of knowledge of the subject content. So the first thing that we're going to be looking for is knows subject content, and here you can see that's point 1.1. What the performance or evidence that they're looking for, which is marked at maximum 7 credits, is whether you've obtained the required induction certification in a teacher's college or a college offering teacher education. Once you can show evidence of that, then you would have received your 7 marks. Now you might ask how. You can show evidence of your teacher's college certification by uploading it through a scanner and saving it as a PDF if you're looking at your e-portfolio, or you can just go ahead and create a copied version and put it in your professional teaching portfolio. 1.2 is able to relate concepts to other subjects. So now the performance that they're looking for with maximum 4 credits is demonstrated the interrelationship between subjects in the curriculum. Now here what we are noticing is that the appraisal document is heavily guided by the principles of the National Standards curriculum. And in the National Standards curriculum, you'll notice that we are encouraged to have interrelated content, finding a way to make each subject content relatable in other subject areas. So here, once you've demonstrated that through your lesson plans, through your 5 E's, pulling out the 4 C's, then you can get the maximum of 4 credits. Now we continue with the beginning teacher's appraisal, where 1.3 looks at, knows and understands how the subject is structured in the curriculum. Now here we can see the performance evidence with a maximum of 7 credits, asking for a proper demonstration of the logical sequence of the subject from basic to complex concepts. So here they're actually looking at, through your lesson plans, through your lesson delivery, are you able to fully answer any possible questions through the array of complexity in that given subject, right? You will have different types of learners in your classes. You have students who are overperformers, you have students who are underperformers. Are you able to differentiate your subject topic and prove the logical sequence of how you carry out from the basic to the complex concepts in the lesson? And again, maximum credit 7 points. Now the teaching standard 1.4 looks at whether or not you're able to relate your subject to the national development goals. With a maximum of 5 credits, the evidence that the appraisers will be looking for is how you would have demonstrated said relationship between your subject or subjects and the national development goals. The national development goals of education can be found in the Vision 2030 plan. So here I'm just going to take a quick minute to encourage us all to be abreast with the national development goals, to see how best we can pull them out and get that maximum 5 credits in our lessons. Now that we've covered the basics of the beginning teacher's appraisal, we'll see that guiding principle 1 can get a total of 23 section credits, and that is for the beginning teacher's appraisal. Now on the other hand, for the teacher performance appraisal document, you'll realize that more is expected. So here again, we see that section 1.1 is looking at how you know the content of the subject being taught and how the content is constructed from the simple to the complex and kept up to date through professional development. So here the performance evidence with a maximum of 6 credits looks for any obtained certificates or records of professional development to enhance the overall effectiveness as a teacher within the assessment period. So here we're looking at, can you show evidence of all the professional development trainings or seminars that you would have been a part that is specifically tied to your knowledge or improving your knowledge of your subject? And again, that's worth 6 credits. Now again, for the teacher performance appraisal document, we're seeing here that you are to show an understanding of the curriculum that embodies the subject or the subjects that you teach, and whether or not you see its relationship to the attainment of the educational and national goals. Now, for a maximum of 4 possible credits, the evidence that we're looking to see is whether or not you have demonstrated that relationship between the subject's curriculum and national goals. Now again, for 1.3, we're looking at how you integrate subjects to deepen said understanding, being able to identify related concepts in other subjects and using such concepts to strengthen the subject being taught. The performance evidence now, for a maximum of 6 credits, is how you can show the philosophical underpinning of subject areas and then be able to identify and link and interpret concepts across subject areas. So let's say, for example, you find a way for primary school teachers to create that link between integrated studies and mathematics. You might be teaching mathematics and you pull vocabulary aspects out of the language arts to enhance your mathematics lessons. For the same thing with integrated studies, you can focus on your reading comprehension, include some mathematics aspects, pull out the language arts, include the math. You can include Spanish as well. How often do we incorporate Spanish and civics in our integrated studies lesson? So finally, for point 1.4, we're looking at whether or not the teacher accesses and keeps abreast of knowledge and developments in the subject area using technology and other sources of information. Now, the evidence here can be split into two parts, both parts looking at the same maximum credits of 7 credits. So for part 4 here, you'd be looking at demonstrating a mastery of up-to-date subject content, logical sequence and strategic practice, building knowledge from simple to complex. For part 5, you're also looking at identified and utilized supplementary content or resources, research, reflection, and collaboration. Both evidences can be made evident in our lesson plans, as well as our action plans or unit plans, or any resources that we would have developed to show same. Now, for example, as educators, we are expected to practice continuous reflection and action research. Not to mention collaboration, but what we're looking at is with any new and developing information. Can you receive theory-based news outlets? Can you look at anything that can help you build on your subject knowledge? For example, can you read an article from a child and developmental psychologist, take heed to the suggestions being offered, and see how best it can work in your class? Do you participate in research if it is that you are teaching a subject, for example mathematics, and you realize that your boys are underperforming your girls? Do you actively participate in research to look at strategies that will help the boys master in subjects? Is there a link between boys' performances and mathematics? Are you continuing your research? So just to get a little bit more in depth in the samples or evidence that will represent your knowledge of guiding principle 1 and the subject that you teach, we have evidence such as a summary of the different teaching positions that the teacher would have held and teaching activities in which he or she would have been involved in a primary role. Here you'll also have a complete list of all the lesson plans for that subject, and then you'd realize that the lesson plans should of course reflect the national standards curriculum, pulling out the 5 E's and the 4 C's, along with each lesson plan being evaluated. You're looking at a sample of student work that reflects the content or the concepts that would have been aligned to the lesson plans that you would have included. You're also looking at using the lesson plans to reflect on all the disciplines taught or the curriculum offerings during the term across the grades. You're also looking at a copy of your appraisal documents, a list of references that might be used to ascertain credibility, adequacy, and relevance of the content. You're looking at your written feedback on students' work. You're looking at a checklist to indicate the across subject areas being strengthened in subject delivery. So just to highlight the interdisciplinary lessons that you would have done and how you manage to make each subject more relating to the other, pulling out different topics that would strengthen the topic that you are focusing on. Again, you're looking at samples of action plans that would have been developed by you, as well as the assessment plans that would cater to the specific needs of the students. Again, you're looking at evidence of your awareness of the national goals for education as set out by the Ministry of Education, again, which can be found on the Ministry of Education's platform or the Vision 2030 booklet. You're also looking at scores on standardized or other tests that you would have administered in your classroom before and after instruction. So you're looking at your your post assessments, you're looking at your summative assessment to really get a data analysis or an in-depth look numerically on the performances of your students before or after you would have engaged in your subject teaching. You're also looking at students' papers or essays or creative works that could show a reflection of same. Now, just to go ahead and summarize basically what we're looking at, guiding principle 1 is teacher knows the subject content that he or she teaches. And again, some examples of evidence that support guiding principle 1 are samples of lesson plans for all the grades taught with evaluation, assessment plans, intervention plans, action plans, documented behavior modification or classroom management techniques, student work, strategies used by the teacher, reteaching and learning experiences, resources developed or used by you, and of course, data analysis of student performances. Thank you so much again for joining me as we discussed Guiding Principle 1. I am AnnEvans, a special educator and ICT facilitator at the Jesse Pool Primary School. And I want you to stay tuned because for the rest of this month, we're going to be looking at each of the different guiding principles. Thank you so much again and have a great rest of day.
My educator family, I just know that you enjoyed Guiding Principle 1 just as I did. Thank you so much, Miss AnnEvans, for always delivering and for sharing with us your knowledge on Guiding Principle 1. I trust educators that as you have heard, you have taken your notes. I know that you'll be able to use it to manipulate this appraisal process, manipulate in a positive way, because you will now be able to set about bringing together your evidences as you prepare your portfolio. Remember, the appraisal process is one that seeks to improve on your practice to help you to grow and develop as a reflective practitioner. And it is also a guide to help you to see where you can improve, where you need improvement, and where your strengths are as you teach and as you go about the teach and learning process. Thank you so much once again, and I trust that as you have learned, you will share with others and you'll also use it to help yourself as you prepare for the appraisal process and as you go about putting together your professional portfolio. I wish for you all the best. Come next week, we move on to Guiding Principle 2 again as we go through the principles that are needed to demonstrate excellence as a teacher. God bless you all.